The Ray Darcy Show on RTE Radio 1. Proudly sponsored by Volkswagen. Volkswagen.ie.
51551 for your text. You can send us emails to ray@rte.ie. Dave at Large is a play about the legendary Irish comedian Dave Allen. It begins a nationwide tour on the 13th of March, which starts in the Civic Theatre in Tala. There are 3 incarnations of Dave Allen, and one of them is played by Bryan Murray, who joins us in studio. How are you doing, Brian?
Very good, thanks.
That's
Excellent.
all factually correct, is it?
That's all factually correct.
Right.
Three Dave Allens for the price of one.
Right. Great to see you. The last time we saw you was on the telly, and we were just talking about it there. We had Anna Friel on, and of course you were Anna's dad in Brookside.
That's right,
yes.
yeah. It was great to see her. I mean, I was really, really delighted to be asked. And it was great because she seemed kind of pleased to see me as well, which was great. But we went through all that hell together, you know what I mean?
The Jordashes.
The Jordashes and all, because it was harrowing stuff.
Yeah.
The first day that we did the beating, I'll never forget, the first beating scene, which was, I think, was 2 or 3 weeks into the thing, when you see him in action. The woman playing my wife and myself went out after the shoot, and we went into an Italian restaurant and closed the place down. It was kind of like all we could do was just sit there drinking red wine. It's like,
it was so draining.
It's just what just happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I say I've never acted myself. Well, I did, but there are certain things like that that just sap everything out of you.
They demand you. Yes. They demand that you give as much as you can. You know what I mean? It was great to see her.
What a great role, Dave Allen.
Oh, it's great.
Were you a fan? Would you have been a fan?
Huge, absolutely huge. And Brian McAvera wrote it, and I did a play of his a year and a half ago called In Search of Mr. B, which is about Samuel Beckett, and it was looked at from a different perspective as well. And we had great fun. And then he said, I'm writing a play about Dave Allen. I was kind of like, oh, yes, please bring it over.
Put me down for that.
Yeah, absolutely. But there are 3 of us. There's Michael Bates playing Davy. There's Tara Breathnach playing Davinia. And there's me playing Dave.
And you're Dave as well?
I'm the Dave that people know on television and people are kind of accustomed to. Michael is kind of the more serious kind of man underneath it all. And sometimes the father figure, but more serious and more kind of more stern, I suppose. And then Davinia is our conscience. She's also Dave Allen, and we've all, of course, got the finger business done. Yes, and so that to show the audience that this is Dave.
I would imagine most people know who Dave Allen was. He died in 2005. But just to contextualise him, I'm beginning to sound like Sean Rockin' Arena now, but which is no harm.
No harm at all. Sorry, Sean.
But I suppose he was a trailblazer.
Oh gosh, without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, I think that if there hadn't been Dave Allen, there mightn't have been Father Ted. There mightn't have been a lot of the stand-up comics the way that they are now, because it's hard to be aware of this. But before Dave Allen, comedians just told jokes. It was just a list of jokes. Did you hear the one about the ha 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 ha? Dave didn't do it. He stood there, said hello to everyone and had a cigarette in his hand in the original days and a glass of whiskey and sat down and told these stories, outrageous stories, and took his time that were absolutely hilarious. And he's on YouTube. For those people who don't know him, give yourself a treat and watch Dave.
And there was a brilliant documentary made after his death. It was made in 2013, which I watched today, and it's an amazing documentary for anybody who's interested in comedy or interested in Dave Allen. It's called God's Own Comedian, which is a play on words, because he was an atheist.
He was an atheist, and he said if God, if there is a God, he said he must like atheists the best, because we never ask him to do anything.
And he used to say his sign-off every night was, may your God go with you.
That's the last line of the play. Good night, and may your God go with you.
Yeah. This will bring back memories. Now, I can't remember if it was on a Saturday or Sunday night. I was a huge fan. It was in the 70s when this was first on the BBC, so I was only, 12 or whatever. There it is.
There's the...
Yeah. He sort of came to TV a circuitous route, because he had been a red coat in Butlins, and then he'd entered a couple of talent competitions, didn't do that well. Then he went off, he did the stand-up circuit.
Yes, and it didn't go down too terribly well. But then he found himself in Australia. and went on television in Australia doing these kind of wild things. And that's where he got the idea to kind of break the rules in a way. He used to do these kind of stunts. If the sponsor was Ronson's Unbreakable Razor, he took a hammer in it, and break it in one fell swoop live on air.
Brilliant!
And he was kind of like Ronson's Unbreakable Razor.
I was actually inspired by watching it today and thinking, what has happened to us?
Yeah,
because it was so freer and looser
absolutely,
and liver,
absolutely.
wasn't it?
But it was such his observation on life and his calling out the absurd things that we take for granted in the world. I mean, he has a long monologue, I'm sure that you know, about watches, about the watch. You know,
We played a bit of that earlier on. It's amazing.
It's just amazing. You know,
because
the fellow underwater then comes up to you.
Second hand is third. And this is one of his, in that documentary, this is one of his earliest pieces of footage that they have from, it must have been in the late 60s. And he's just introducing himself to the audience.
Yeah. As you know, the name is Dave Allen. I'd also like to tell you I come from a little country in the world called Ireland. And like most Irishmen, I live in England. And in Ireland, we have a very old saying in which we say, when you can see the mountains, it's going to rain, and when you can't see the mountains, it's raining.
Paul in Wexford was on saying, my dad was in Newbridge College with Dave Allen.
Oh.
He said he didn't like school much and he just left without telling anyone and never came back.
I wonder, did he have the finger then when he was in college? That'd be interesting to find out, because nobody knows. Even the son says, his children said, he told us all a different story.
No, but we know this is it, isn't it? Have a listen. This is the explanation of how he lost the finger.
Is it?
Yeah.
And I felt something on my chest begin to move. It crept slowly up my chest, came closer, nearer, and I grabbed it, and it was wet and cold, and I bit it, screamed with pain, and that is how I lost my finger.
He was a terribly good actor, you know, and of course he had impeccable timing, but his characters were great and funny and all that. But the show isn't about his routines. The show is about, yes, we do add some of the sketches, but the show is about his life. His elder brother, for example, Michael, who was I mean, first of all, Dave was such a dapper man. I mean, he was very debonair and handsome man, but his brother, Michael, the elder brother, he seemingly was even more handsome because he, according to Dave Allen, he was the one who got all the girls,
right.
And he was going to be the big success of the family, and it didn't work that way. He became an alcoholic, and eventually he died by falling accidentally out of a fifth-floor window. Yeah. So there was that heartbreak in him.
And his dad was the boss man of the Irish Times.
The Irish Times.
He died very young, the age of 48.
48. Yeah.
Well, that's what I read. 48.
He was a complete eccentric, total eccentric, and his drinking partner was Flann O'Brien.
Right.
And they went out on the Raz most nights, and then when he died, there was no money left in the bank. There was no money left. It was kind of had all been used up, and the widow was kind of like left to do what she could do.
She was English. She returned to England and brought the family with her.
So there's a kind of a sad undertow as well.
He very bright man.
Oh, really. Really sharp man, and a great. He would have been a great straight actor because his observation of life and the things that he takes from life were really kind of valuable. The little things that he'd put in now, you know what I mean? Yeah. Little small observations. He was a multi-talented guy, really, and of course, he had to leave Ireland to go away to kind of like to get the success because of.
Well, they wouldn't have liked him back then.
No, not with his view of the Roman Catholic Church.
Like in this little routine here, he impersonates the Pope, who meets with an atheist. So let's have a listen to that.
Yeah.
The Pope discussing the existence of God with an out-and-out atheist. Starts off very correctly, discussion, and as the hours go by, it gets more and more heated, and eventually the Pope turns to the man and he said, "The mom! Get the mom! And you, come here. You are like a man who is totally blindfolded in a dark room looking for a black cat that is not there." The fellow said, "With all respect, Your Holiness, I think there's great similarity between us both." He said, "What do you mean, similarity?" He said, "Well, as far as I'm concerned, you are like a man who is blindfolded in a totally dark room looking for a black cat that isn't there. The only difference is that you found it.
Ooh. And then he did a routine, because he used to do sketches. He did a routine where the Pope stripped. Did a striptease. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen that
Yeah,
one.
he got into big trouble over that.
All right.
So he didn't.
As you
obviously
would.
take it, but and he was on steps into a big house, and then he was flanked on either side by about 6 cardinals. Well, they weren't real cardinals, but they were actors dressed as cardinals, and he did He got into trouble, and he got into trouble over this as well, because he came back to the BBC, or maybe it was ITV, in the 90s. So he was controversial, wasn't he?
Oh, yes. Oh.
This is him talking again about time and about how we clock in and clock out right through life.
You wait to the clock. You go to work to the clock. You clock in to the clock. You clock out to the clock. You come home to the clock. You eat to the clock. You drink to the clock. You go to bed to the clock. You get up to the clock. You go back to work to the clock. You do that for 40 years of your life. You retire. What they fucking give you? A clock.
And he used the F word, and that was
I know. That was
outrage over that.
Absolute outrage. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of, again, breaking into new ground.
And that, my understanding is that sort of soured the reaction he got because of that soured his relationship with television.
Yeah.
So it's starting in the Civic Theatre in
We're in
Tallaght.
the Civic Theatre until Saturday coming, and then next week we're in Galway, we're in Letterkenny, we're in Wexford and Waterford, and then the following 2 weeks we're at the Viking here in Dublin.
Right.
So we come along and see it, and it's fun.
Dave Allen started as a stringer on my grandfather's newspaper in Drogheda. He didn't stay long. His brother Peter, photographer, got him the job. Grandfather was J.M. Stanley, says Angela. Was Dave Allen from Keena in County Longford? I don't know the answer to that. Would you ask Brian where's the best place to study drama?
Oh gosh,
There's a big question.
there's a big question. Yeah. Well. I honestly don't know. I know a lot of students who've come out of the Lear and they found it to be great. I think the best study that you could do is go to plays, go to professional plays. Start off by
Where
going
did you
to plays.
Study?
At the Abbey School of Acting. At
you?
the time, it was.
Is that still in existence?
No, it's not.
No,
Unfortunately,
right,
no.
okay.
So it was at the Abbey Theatre. Yeah.
My family was called into Bowman last Friday to say my mum may not make it through the weekend. While there, one of us thought of Dave Allen and the famous funeral scene.
Yes.
Gave us a laugh. My mum is now on the mend.
Oh,
thank
thank
God,
goodness.
which is great
That's
news.
good. Excellent.
Because and we will just one more clip. I think.
Yeah,
one more
yeah,
clip.
yeah.
Because he was an Irishman living abroad. He sort of got a lot of comedy out of looking back across the Irish Sea, I suppose. And this is him talking about the Irish tradition of wakes.
A very important part of the Irish way of life is death. See, if anybody else, anywhere else in the world dies, that's the end of it, they're dead. But in Ireland, when somebody dies, we lay them out and watch them for a couple of days. It's called a wake. And it's a party, it's a send-off. And the fellow's laid out on the table. And there's drinking and dancing and all the food you can eat. And all your friends come from all over the place. And they all stand around the wake table looking at you with a glass in their hands and they say, "Here's to your health."
Right, to Fair City.
Yes.
Your partner Una was in with us last
She
week.
was, yeah.
There's a lot of controversy about what's going on around your house.
Yeah. Is there? Yeah.
Yeah. Just somebody here, before he goes, can you ask Brian why the feck didn't he look at the note from Heather?
Aha. I love the note, you see.
Put us all out of our misery.
Yeah, I loved that. That's many things in Fair City, but that's one thing that really tickled my fancy, and that was that everybody was in just a hair's breadth of actually opening it. I had it in my hand as long, and then he just puts it down, and then you forget about it. How many times have we done the equivalent of that in our lives? Well, it's a great storyline, and Una Kavanagh, she plays Heather, is just doing such a great job, because it's a difficult thing to come back on and have that as being your new character for the while, but she's doing it great, yeah. And it's the folks are liking it because you know from the street whether they're for you or whatever. Yeah. But it's great, you know. It's getting the reaction is always great.
And how do you go and tour with a play then?
Well, I'm free of Carrickstown for these 2 weeks, and then, but when I'm back in the Viking, I'll be back in Carrickstown in the day, and I'll be in the Viking at night. So I'll be Bob Charles during the day and Dave Allen at night.
And do you have to go and state your case?
Well, they're very kind. They're,
Yeah.
they're very good to me. I say, is there any chance in another 4 or 5 weeks if I were to ask for a week off or whatever to do a play, and normally they do whatever they can. Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's great to get out, and particularly to get back on stage again.
Yeah.
It's great. It's terrifying always. First time, you go, why did I do this? It's much easier in a studio. Yeah, but it's very gratifying doing this play particularly.
Because you know second takes on stage.
No. If you don't remember a line, you don't remember the line, and somebody will give it to you on stage if you're lucky. You know?
Yeah. I was saying to Una that I was driving back through Ranelagh last Wednesday morning and I spotted you outside. Where was it? The Ranelagh Art Centre, wasn't it?
The Art Centre, that's where we rehearsed, yeah.
Oh,
And thanks to the Ranelagh Art Centre, it's a great rehearsal space, incidentally, folks, for anyone who's thinking of putting on a play. So think about it. Yeah, Ray said that he saw you. I was sitting on this little thing, and in the middle of rehearsals, every waking moment you're reading the script, trying to get a hold of it. You know what I mean? So that's what I was doing. I was sitting there reading the script, waiting for the key to arrive.
And is there any worry that Bob might come out in the middle of Dave Allen?
Yes, yeah.
The brain has a strange way of working.
Crossover, yeah. Or, Dave Allen turns into Bob Charles. Yeah, Dave Allen takes over the Hungry Pig. Yes, that might be an idea.
Yeah. So I was asking Una, and I'll ask you now. So you like to rehearse at home and she doesn't. Is that the way it is?
I wouldn't say she doesn't. No, but why wouldn't you? Because you try to get it as natural and as real as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be living with a character that you have 2 or 5 or 6 scenes with on a day, of course we'll sit down and rehearse it, just to get it to make it as real as you can, just to practice reality, because that's what we're in the business of, and that's good. It's good that we have that opportunity, because it's the actors in Faircity really work hard. We go in in the morning 7:20 and we finish at 7:25, and you could have 13 scenes in a day.
And they were talking there, just to bring it serious for a moment, I read in the paper there that one of the actors was saying that they had to have a second job because they get paid so little.
Oh, all right.
Did you read that? No.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't hear that.
Not your experience?
Not my experience, no.
Right.
No, not
There
at
you
all.
And do you know what I was thinking about you, and you had your own chat show.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
What was it called?
We did 2 seasons of Encore, and then we did a season called Caught in the Act.
Right.
And I used to present on BBC One for a children's programme called Umbrella, and then another children's programme called Knock Knock. So yeah, I've presented quite a bit. I love live television.
Yeah.
Just love it.
And is there something you'd like to do again?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'd love to do it.
Would you? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I used to do Late Date here at RT Radio 1, and that stopped. So I enjoyed doing that.
You have a great voice.
Yeah. So they tell me. I've had it all my life.
Yeah. I was at David Large play last night. Fantastic.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Yeah. And the story was he lost his fingertip when he lived in Keena in County Longford. About the age of 6, he caught it in a cog in a mill wheel when a friend turned the wheel, says somebody.
Oh, there you go.
And then somebody else says Dave Allen was from Fairhouse. And he'd love all this.
That's right.
He'd love all this, wouldn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember Bob in Strokestown Park House. What a gentleman. That's Bob in Strokestown Park House. I don't know what that's about.
That's probably me calling me Bob.
Bob instead of Brian.
Strokestown was the Tenements series that I did for TV3. Yeah.
Right. So good luck with everything.
Thanks very much.
And we put details of Dave Allen at Large up on our blog. And just that the name of that documentary, if people want to watch it because it's on YouTube, is God's Own Comedian.
God's Own Comedian. Okay.
Brian Murray, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Ray.
Take a quick commercial break. We've live music from Keela after this.
The Ray Darcy Show on RT.